All right, guys, this next guest, I've been waiting like 2 years to interview. He's a publishing copyright consultant specialist extraordinaire. If your money ain't right with the label, he will find out the problem and help you. He's a good brother. I'm talking about the one and only Gongu Roach.
Hey, man, how you doing, man?
Yo, man, I see you shining over there. You flexing that nice watch right there, huh?
No, I don't know what you're talking about, man. Hard work, you know?
Yeah, hard work, man. What's good with you today?
Everything's good, man. Everything's good. Just the same old, just working, taking calls. I just finished working on a settlement with my attorney, trying to get some people some money,
I got you, man. All work all the time.
Yeah, man.
And so people have been waiting a long time for this one, man.
Well, honestly, man, I didn't really want to be a person to stockpile on top of somebody's, issue and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I figured that was the thing.
Yeah, it's just enough stuff going on. I didn't want to be like, another person kicking this guy while he's underground and shit. You know what I'm saying? That's all I could kind of say. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But you got me. You finally got me.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? It all worked out. I'm happy. To be here.
So the people, they know that you're some big time specialist, but I want to give the people a better idea of who you are, right? So where are you originally from?
Bergen County, New Jersey, born and raised. Went back from the Fort Lee to Englewood school system back and forth. I probably did like 2 more years of education in Fort Lee than I did in Englewood. Grew up around some people who wanted to be in the music business. Some people got bad results and some people got good results. I just started reading the books, I guess, probably like in the early 90s, I would say. Still I'm not understanding what some of the words meant, you know what I'm saying? But as I got ring experience, I started to understand, more the terminology and didn't really utilize it, I would say, until I had my back against the wall and had to use it.
Right. But so your family, though, is originally from Harlem, right? In the 60s?
Yeah, my family's from Harlem. I would say I'm probably first generation New Jersey. A lot of people from Harlem and the Bronx, their dream is to move to Jersey and stuff like that. And, my family was able to do that. So, from what I recall, I guess I'm first generation born in New Jersey.
So your family moved to Dumont, New Jersey, right? And then later on, you and your mom moved to Fort Lee?
Yeah. Yep, you got it. You've been following. Yep. My family still lived in Dumont till my family was living in Dumont probably 50-something years.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you grow up with any siblings?
I had a stepfather and stuff like that. My sister and well, I'm older than the other generation of my family, so it was pretty much me. After a while, I was more staying with my grandmother. The other two were, staying with my mother and stepfather, stuff like that.
What did your parents do for work?
My father was more like an artist. He died on my birthday back in like 2007. He was doing more like artwork. And, my mother was working just regular clerical jobs, things like that.
Got you.
Yeah.
So how would you describe like yourself as a kid? Like before all the music copyright publishing work, like what did you want to be?
Probably wanted to be like Magic Johnson or something like that, I watched a lot of football, a lot of basketball, just probably wanted to be an athlete, I wasn't focused. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. Probably for most of my life, I probably didn't know what I wanted to do. You know what I'm saying? But this was sitting like, here the whole time. And like I said, I started to utilize it a couple decades ago. Um, I wasn't really a focused person. I guess, I got ADHD or in a severity. So
Oh,
I
for
just
real? You
wasn't.
really do? Like you got diagnosed with that, or you just kind of saying like you got a hard time focusing?
Yeah, I mean, I got a super hard time focusing. I mean, I've had lawyers and other people tell me that. I mean, I've taken tests that said that. I never went to a doctor that said that. But I mean, if you know me, you'd probably say the same thing.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah.
Did you ever want to rap?
Yeah, I think everybody did. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I used to hang around people, that was in the music business. I used to go to Queens. I used to hang out with I hung out with a lot of people, man. My man used to rap in high school, and produce and stuff like that. And kind of like this cat, Delwyn Williams, and this other cat, Butch and stuff. They used to make beats and things. They used to, they used to do music. I used to sit around and, I was kind of mesmerized by stuff. And my man, Delwyn, out of everybody I knew, he kind of knew what publishing and copyrights meant and stuff like that. So, I didn't know what none of that stuff meant at 17, 16 years old and stuff like that. So he was probably the person that got me to more read the books of what that stuff meant. Um, and I just, yeah, we all wanted to, but that wasn't my calling. You know what I'm saying? My calling is the paperwork, copyright,
Wait, Goo.
publishing.
Did you
What?
have a rap name though?
I can't. No, I don't remember none of that. Actually, my friend used to write lyrics for me and stuff
Oh,
like that.
okay.
The guy that one that I used to
I
hang
thought
out
he was about to
stuff
spit
like
a
that.
quick 16 right now.
Nah, no. But then I kind of transitioned from. Well, I was always hanging out with him. This Japanese cat that lived in Flushing. I think he had an SP12 early in the day or something like that. And I think Nas and maybe Large Professor, some guys used to come by his house and do beats and stuff like that. Do demos and stuff like that. But around him, I would say was probably more the time I was picking up the books. Um, and it kind of propelled from there. I mean, I started hanging around cats over at Bad Boy, Daddy's house. Two guys I knew used to work there engineering. I was hanging around there. I knew a lot. I knew a lot of stuff then. It's just that once again I wasn't utilizing it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And yeah, I mean I've been around a lot of people. You know what I'm saying? I mean a lot of people, smarter people than me. They just probably didn't utilize their talents as well. You know what I'm saying? So I had more resources in the business than they did.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So I was able to like reach out to people, get clients, and doing my own thing from there.
So let's take a stroll through your hood, right? When you were a kid, walking the streets, what are you seeing coming up?
I mean, part of my family lived a fast life. They were still, going back and forth to Harlem and stuff. So, I seen a lot of stuff I probably shouldn't have seen at an early age, which I really wouldn't want to mention.
Right.
Um, but it didn't help my mindset, I would say.
So like, were you seeing hip hop really early on, like b-boying, like these things that like the park jams that really like inspired you?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Especially when I moved to Englewood, they had a recording studio on West Street. I used to see a lot of entertainers coming in and out of there and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean that was inspirational. You know what I'm saying? At the same time, seeing like Melly Mel and guys like that, run around and stuff like that. Um, I was still more getting into it. There was guys from the town that that was usual seeing these guys. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I was more moving from Fort Lee to Englewood, maybe listening to the records, but these guys they've been there, done that, seen these guys. You know what I'm saying? So I was more probably mesmerized than them, seeing these guys. Because they probably already saw them years previously. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I moved there like 82ish or something like that, 83. Can't really remember. So I'm sure most of those guys been there, done that.
So your first introduction into the game was through Sugar Hill Records, right?
Introduction to the game. Well, introduction to learning the business.
Right.
Yeah, because my family was cool with their family from the 50s and 60s and stuff like that. So the father was, I told him I wanted to be in the music business, stuff like that. So he was, teaching me what certain words meant and stuff like that in contracts. And he said a lot, and the secretary I'm real cool with still, Dina. He he knew a lot too. So, after the whole company kind of disbanded, I was still hanging around Dino and stuff like that. And like he was just kind of like filling me in, probably with things that I didn't know that I needed to know. So I could kind of carry on what I needed to do. And I started getting clients, not really knowing the whole art, you know what I'm saying? But I started getting clients around '04 or something like that, '05. But before that, I might have been managing or trying to manage, you know, artists, producers or something like that. But once again, I might have knew a lot, but I wasn't taking it serious. You know what I'm saying? There was people around me that had more resources, but I knew more. I mean,
Got you.
they probably knew 5% of what I knew to this day. Like, they're not really competition with knowing, things like that. But, they had resources that was, getting them placements and stuff like that. And, once again, I just wasn't taking the business serious.
But you watched them like scam like a lot of people, right? That's like how you started to like learn more about like the business side of it.
Yeah, I didn't really watch them. I heard them tell me.
Oh, okay,
You know what
got
I'm
you.
saying? Like, yeah, I had this, how I did that, things like that. That's what more happened. You know what I'm saying? And even then, I still didn't understand how that happened. You know what I'm saying? So I had to like I said, I had to read the books. I had to get ring experience. You got to jump in the ring and go and do rounds. You know what I'm saying? You just can't jump in the ring for the first time and think that you're going to be able to be dominant. You know what I'm saying? So it was just I had to get ring experience, and I think more of the ring experience kind of came from going to court and understanding the process, through court, and I got good in court.
So
I got good in court, and then I transitioned from one lawyer to another. I had a couple of lawyers. The first two lawyers I was using, I'm not trying to discredit them, but they don't know. They're not even in the world. It's not they're not even in the same world as the lawyer I use now. And I'm sure they're pretty good and stuff like that, but they're not competition compared to my lawyer. You know what I'm saying?
got
Like,
you.
oh, so she's injected me, with a lot of with a lot of knowledge, and I'm able to do a lot of filtering for her. To know if you got a case or not. Just to make her life more efficient. You know what I'm saying? To see what we could carry over to her and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, I got good. I got to the next level due to her.
So is it safe to say that Tretch was right when he said that I'm more feared than the Sugar Hill contract? It was really that bad?
Well, I think what happened with Tretch was he signed to Sugar Hill, or maybe it's another company. They had an affiliate company called Bone and May or something like that. They signed to one of the Sugar Hill affiliates, right? Um, I forgot. I think the name of Tretch's group before Naughty by Nature, I think they were called New Style, right? And then they disbanded from Sugar Hill. And what happened was they became Naughty by Nature. And when the first album came out, Sugar Hill tried to use that contract that they had prior with them to try to get the publishing rights from Naughty by Nature. But I think that took some forgery and lies and stuff like that. And that's what Tretch was mad about because, like, they amended the contract and finagled it, to make it say certain things. And they also needed one person to lie in the court stand, and he wouldn't do it. So they never got the publishing rights.
So from 1998 to 2005, you were trying to get your uncle's publishing back before he died, right? From the James Brown song, It's a Man's World.
James Brown, It's a Man's World, that part of the publishing. But Betty Newsom also had a part of that publishing too. And I got her publishing back. Me and my attorney got her publishing back. Mostly my attorney, but I helped out. We got her portion of publishing back from some company out in California, maybe like 2020 or something like that. Now I do have transferred rights over to the composition to get the portion back, but honestly, I lost the contract. So I remember going away to California one time and putting it somewhere, and I lost the contract. So I mean, I can't dispute a claim without the
Wow.
contract. So that's that.
So what did your uncle do on that song exactly?
Uh, I think he just put it together. He knew the writer, maybe more like a production company type thing. He didn't write, but he put James Brown and the female together, and he got publishing rights for putting that together. I can't remember if he had 33% or 50% of the song, but I know James Brown set him up with the mob in a hotel, told him there were some white girls upstairs in the hotel. And that wasn't true. It was the mob. and they made him transfer over his rights.
Wow.
Yeah, well, not all of it. I think he walked out with half.
Because in another interview, I heard you say that he had like 25% or something like that. So
He walked out with 25%.
oh, so after the fact, got you. Okay.
Yeah,
Dang.
he might have had 50 or 33. I can't remember. He had more when he walked in. He had more before he walked in. He walked out with less.
So when he died, you didn't fix the situation yet. You weren't able to.
I mean, once again, he took it to court and lost. But once again, I mean, I kind of know what to do now and stuff like that. But I lost the contract.
But that situation kind of changed your life forever, right? Because it inspired you to do this work like more serious.
Well, you know what? I went through so much paperwork. That's probably the first time I had to go through some paperwork to try to, fight a court case or try to bring something back into court. I went through so many pages of that thing, that court documents and what have you, that that kind of, put some education in me. Absolutely.
Well, rest in peace to your uncle, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Nature from the Firm was your first like real client, right? And there was like a lot of problems with his catalog.
I think he was the first from my memory that had a major issue. Well, I mean, not to speak on Sugar Hill again, but they had him signed up, and he had an ASCAP account. He had his publisher account set up, Blackhead Publishing, but he never set up his ASCAP writer account. And he signed up with the Sugar Hill family, and they never told him that he never signed up with his writer account. And
can you explain the difference for the people watching?
Well, I mean, if you sign up with a performance rights organization, ASCAP, BMI, CSAC, I mean, there's a few other companies now, that independently owned and stuff like that, that maybe Pharrell and Nicki Minaj are signed to. Forgot the name of the company. But, you sign up as a writer and under your government name, and you sign up as a publisher. All right. And, half of your money goes into your writer account. The other half goes into your publisher account. And they didn't tell him about his writer portion. So they made up a BMI account under a fake Social Security number to make a Jermaine Baxter account in BMI. And it gets red flagged because of the Social Security number. But an IPI number already got created, which is like your identification, your Social Security number per se. That got created. And they were able to steal his writer money under a fake name.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so I took them to court with another attorney, more in my amateur days, 2009-ish, something like that. I got him a settlement, but if I knew what I knew now, it would have fucked them up bad. It would fuck the opposition up real bad.
Right, because like you felt, I mean, that even though you won that situation, it's just that you could have got more because of the way you know how to do the evidence and everything now, right?
I could have got way more. I mean, I kind of feel like I owe him, because what I should have did, now, knowing what I know now, I should have passed it on to somebody else that knew more. Period. Lawyer included.
Got you.
Mm-hmm.
And what's your guys' relationship like?
Who, Nate?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I just spoke to him like a couple hours ago.
Wow. Yeah. That's dope, man.
Yeah, I mean, I got to call him tonight.
Yeah,
You
shout
know,
out to Nature.
I spoke to him yesterday also. Yeah, I mean, highly underrated artist. Um, Man, bro, I mean, the dope ass lyricist, man. He still, he still got what it takes. The guy's amazing. You know,
Was the
yeah, the guy.
problems related to the Firm album specifically?
What do you mean?
Like the problems with the money and
Well,
everything?
they stole the money from the Firm album. If that's what
Mhm.
you're asking. Yeah, they stole the money from the Firm album. Um, Phone Tap was also sampled into a Carl Thomas Faith Evans record called Can't Believe. They stole that from him. Whatever. Say he had another 50 works, they stole that from him. He might have been on the QB's Finest album, they stole that money from him. I mean, they took a lot. They took his foreign royalties. I mean, they did their thing on him. You know what I'm saying? That's why I had to bring him to court.
So before we get into the Liza situation, I want to ask, were you a Terror Squad fan before meeting her?
Absolute. I mean, I'm not saying I knew Joe, but I met Joe beforehand on 149th Street at some barbershop and stuff. I used to see him every now and then. My friend used to have a barbershop on 149th Street. I think Joe had a barbershop too. I think he lost it. I think they had an apartment upstairs from the barbershop. I think they were like screwing chicks and they had mattresses up against the wall. I think they were shooting up the mattresses, playing target practice or something like that up in the apartment or something like that. I think they lost the apartment because of that. So he started coming to my man's barbershop. But I mean, you could tell he's a man of respect. You know what I'm saying? I mean, when he came in the barbershop, bro, he came in like fucking show enough, bro. You know what I'm saying? Motherfuckers jump out the chair and shit. You know what I'm saying? He wouldn't even have to say nothing. I literally seen a motherfucker jump out the chair with their hair undone.
Wow.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And matter of fact, that day, swear my mother, that particular day when I saw a motherfucker jump out the barber chair, he played, he's like, yo, I got a new artist. He played 2 songs by Pun. He played You Ain't a Killer, and I forgot the other record he played. But he played 2 records.
Damn, so this is early. This is before Capital Punishment even comes out then.
Oh, absolutely. He said, this is my new artist, this and that. And he played 2 Pun songs in the barbershop. I know it was You Ain't a Killer was one of them for sure. I remember that. I can't forget that. And I forgot what the other record was. You know what I'm saying? And I remember some cat from Queens that I used to be around every once in a while that was a producer and shit. I think he might have did a track on one of Joe's albums. I'm like, yo, I know the so-and-so. He's like, oh, that nigga's a pussy, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. He was just, playing tough, just cracking jokes about this one nigga from Queens and shit. But
Because he had 8 dudes with him, right? Like a bunch of people with him.
yeah, maybe not 8, but he probably had about 5 to 6.
Got you. Okay.
5 to 6. But like I said, when he came in, everybody knew who he was. They jumped out. Motherfucker jumped out the chair. He had a choice of chairs. So I mean, not everything is cap. You know what I'm saying? Like I seen it. He definitely is a man of respect.
So when he started talking about your friend, like he was directing
My
that kind of
friend,
energy.
he was an associate I used to see in the studio. There's other cat I grew up with.
He started directing that energy towards you.
Nah. But this other cat I grew up with that I haven't spoken to in a while. He's cool with him, and he just let me know that he's a pussy and all that shit. That's all, like, oh, like, you don't know him like that? I'm like, nah. He's like, yeah, he's a pussy, this and that. I'm like, oh, okay, whatever that got to do with me, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's almost like he wanted me to relay the message.
Did you ever meet Pun or the other members of Terror Squad after this situation?
Yeah, I met Pun once or twice in the studio. In Cuban Links, late 90s or so, or something like that. But, not to the point where we had a relationship. It was more like, because he was actually recording, him and Cuban Links were actually recording at the Japanese guy's house that I was telling you about.
Oh, wow.
That lived in Queens, that used to mess with Nas.
Yo, wait, was that DJ Honda?
Nah, this cat named Nori. He used to do club music. He used to do club music and stuff like that too. He kind of was going back and forth with the hip hop and club music and stuff like that. But he was a good producer too. Like I was kind of upset why he stopped producing. He wound up getting a job with ABC doing technical shit, you know what I'm saying, slowed down his creativity, I guess, and stuff like that. But this guy could have did some work. He really could have did some work in the business, like facts. You know what I'm saying? He introduced me to Large Professor. I used to go to Casino Boulevard. I met Q-Tip over there. You know what I'm saying? You know, Mike Geronimo. You know, people like that. You know, actually, my first client was Large Professor.
Damn.
That was my first client. Yeah. He was stuck in an EMI publishing deal, and he never entered out of his EMI publishing deal. So say he signed up in the 90s or maybe after the main source or whatever, and whatever music he was doing, they were taking in his Schedule A of songs and putting it under the EMI schedule for collection. And maybe around 04, 05, I brought him to this lawyer named Wallace Collins, who was probably the first lawyer that I was using, and he got him out the EMI deal where they wouldn't take his Schedule A no more, and where he could be independent to, you know, be his own publisher and do whatever he wanted after that. But that Paulie, Large Professor, was probably my first client that I could afford. Yeah,
that's dope, man. So, what was your first impression when you met Pun?
I mean, but besides how big he was, I mean, I just, you know, I was kind of, you know, like, yo, man, this is that guy on record, because by then he had a couple of records. He might have had his album out and stuff like that. I mean, I was just like, you know, I wasn't really saying that. I was just in the studio. I was just like, yo, this guy's fucking dope as fuck. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, I can't really recall, but, you know, I just knew he was, you know, a dope artist. You know what I'm saying? I knew he was one of the best. He was one of my favorites then.
Right.
Yeah.
What about that asshole Cuban link? Shout out to Cuban, my brother.
Yeah, nah, I mean, I messed with Cuban a little bit more. I like when he, I used to see him around the studio around the Pun era, but then when he was doing his own solo album, he had a studio when he was trying to do his own solo album. I was in the studio with him a couple of times because my man was trying to shop him some beats.
Oh, for 24K.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So I might have came to the studio 3-4 times, you know, something like that. But once again, my peoples was more in connection with them. And, you know, I was just more the background, just being quiet.
Mm-hmm. All right. So prior to you coming along, this is around like 2009, right? Liza had like 4 lawyers or something like that to analyze the situation with Joe?
3 to 4 lawyers. 3 to 4 lawyers over probably from the time of Pun's death up to like 2009. She might have had like 3 lawyers or something like that. Maybe like 3 lawyers. And then I introduced her to a lawyer around 2009, 2010, right? And I ain't gonna say no names or anything, but this lawyer used to tell me that there was nothing there. You know, you're wasting your time with this case and stuff like that. Only because somebody else told him that. He went to another lawyer named Jeff Gandel. And Jeff Gandel was telling him that there's nothing here. You know what I'm saying? Little, you know, I think this guy was a Jelly Bean associate, whatever, but the lawyer would come back to me telling me there was nothing there. And, you know, I was wasting my time with it and stuff like that. So at that time, around 2010-ish or so, after learning that, me and Liza kind of separated. You know what I'm saying? And then maybe about 2 years later or 3 years later, 2013 or so, or something like that, after I met this new lawyer, and, you know, and saw how effective this one lawyer was, and me telling her about the case and showing her, you know, telling her about the case and things like that, she was willing to take the case, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, we started filing probably like a year after I introduced, you know, we did some premeditation work, you know, reaching out to the publisher Jelly Bean and stuff like that. And we probably filed the case maybe like September 2014 for Liza.
But when you end up meeting Liza, you met her through a mutual friend, right? While she was in the shelter?
Yeah, I actually met her through Stu McCain that owns a company called DFL Entertainment. Now, Stu McCain, young Frenchie was signed to him, French Montana. So he had artists, you know, he was, you know, a little bit in the business too, you know what I'm saying? So he had French Montana. Actually, I think he had Tony Sunshine for a little while. Who else did he have? He had Hell Rel. He helped with the transition of Hell Rel going to Dipset and stuff like that. He had a few other artists, his Cat Highlight and stuff like that. I think Fat Joe wanted to sign him or something like that. Yeah, so, he called me up one day. It's like, yo, like, I just saw Pun's wife, this and that. She in a homeless shelter. And at that time, I was like, yeah, like, let me meet her. Maybe I think I could do something for her. You know what I'm saying? So, I met up with her, and that's how it kind of all began. But like I said, I introduced her to the first lawyer, and we were messing around for a certain amount of time. And, he was telling me that basically that he didn't want to do nothing because there was nothing there. You know what I'm saying?
But what was your first impression of the situation? Like, you had to be perplexed too. Like, how is it possible that you're in this situation, right? Like, not getting paid?
Well, I mean, yeah, yes and no. I mean, because I had to analyze the situation because, I mean, if she owed money and was unrecouped, then I would understand. You know what I'm saying? If the artist royalties were unrecouped, I'd understand. If the publishing account was unrecouped due to advances, I'd understand. You know what I'm saying? I could, I could see why no money's coming in. You know what I'm saying? But
initially there was no statements, right? Like you didn't have any statements to look at?
I didn't have any statements. It was just lawyers telling me. I looked at it, you're wasting your time. And one of these lawyers that she had before, this other lawyer introduced her. This guy was, probably one of the more prominent lawyers in New York City, but he couldn't see it either. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I do what I do. They do what they do. You know what I'm saying? So, sometimes I feel like some of these lawyers avoid me because I won the case. It's like a reflection of their embarrassment, honestly.
So eventually you discover that there's deception in the paperwork, right? I think something like 2004 royalty statement showed that she like owed like 80,000. And then the next biannual statement is like 400.
Yeah, I just found it the other day. I just found it the other day and printed it out. I think they had her down to like 80 something thousand in 2003, 2004. And then the next biannual statement, they bumped it up to like 300 and something thousand.
Wow.
To keep her unrecouped for a longer period of time. You know what I'm saying? Because she was getting too close to something. I guess that's the way it looks, but these are facts. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I could show the documentation. I think I got it in the printer, but yeah, these are facts.
And then another way that you could tell that the statements was bullshit is because of banned from TV, right? Because you also represented Nature and you saw his statements.
Yeah. I mean, the easiest way was to find out is because I was representing maybe more than one. It might have been Nature and somebody else, but I was able to match up statements from multiple songs. I just remember Band TV was one of them. You know what I'm saying? So, I'm just matching up statements because they got the same percentage.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So I saw it was off. You know what I'm saying? Then I called her up and said, yo, we'll take the case.
So when you first met Liza, right? This was after Joe had already been on the radio and telling her to get a job and everything and saying that he gave her all this money?
Yeah. Yeah, that was already done. Absolutely.
So that was when he was saying, I gave her $1 million, I helped her get a salon, all those things.
Yeah, that happened before I showed up. Absolutely.
So Liza said the only money she ever got directly, keyword for slow people, directly from Joe was $20,000 in cash, right? Jelly Bean gave her $116,000 from the advance that was owed to Pun for Yeah Baby.
Jelly Bean gave her $116,000 in cash directly only because he felt like if he gave it to Joe that she would never get it. And that's what Jelly Bean told her.
Mm-hmm. And then Sony gave her $125,000 for Endangered Species album.
Yes, that's a fact.
So do you know the situation with Remy Ma and Tony Sunshine? They were signed to Foundation Records.
I got the contracts. Yeah, I mean, well, if you look at it, I mean, she signed them both over for $75,000 and a percentage override on future compositions.
What does that mean?
Well, that she would get points off their future projects.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So then that was what you were talking about when you said that if you really wanted to, you could have taken legal action against Remy because when they dropped that whole all the way up.
Oh yeah, because it kind of got suspended while she was in jail. But yeah, I could have dogged them out on that. Absolutely. There's no maybes about it.
She ended up getting $75,000 from signing them over. but she was
Oh,
still
yeah.
owed money like on any future
Well,
earnings.
well, she was owed. Yeah, she was owed future royalties. Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? Absolutely.
So Tony's never put out an album, but Remy, when she had released the there's something about Remy, I think the solo album, her debut album. Did Liza get anything from that?
She, according to Remy, she gave Joe $30,000 that to Joe that Remy never that Liza never got.
Right, because then I remember hearing Liza on Clubhouse. She said that Remy had told her like, "Hey, did you get the 30,000 I sent you?" And she's like, "What 30,000?" And then that's when Remy discovered that she gave it to Joe, and Joe never gave it to Liza. That's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow, man. So you guys end up setting up the lawsuit in 2014, right? You end up taking Jelly Bean and Joe to court. So I've heard you say that you almost developed a sciatica by working this case because
I probably had to go through like 20-something thousand pages.
That's insane.
Mm-hmm.
So you're working this case, but you also hire an auditor. What exactly did you do that was different from the auditor?
Well, I set it up so it could stay in court.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Because you need to have a $75,000 mandatory in a federal court. So I had to prove that claim. I had to prove that we was right on the $75,000 or more. So I mean, before we got the auditor involved, I had to do that dirty work because I didn't have the finances like that to do all of that. I had to pick my spots on how the money was spent.
And you were paying for the lawyer already from your money,
yeah, I paid the lawyer a little something here and there. The auditor probably took more money than anything. But I was definitely coming out of pocket I was definitely coming out of pocket from different angles for sure.
And the auditor is looking at it even more deeply than you were able to, like line by line of everything? Or how does it work?
Well, I mean, he was able to surmise that, because when all the statements came, I didn't get all the statements. I had some of the statements. I think with the auditor, he got all of the statements.
Mm.
And he was able to come up with 2.3 million. Actually, he didn't get all the statements. With the statements that we got in discovery, he came up with 2.3 million.
Because Jelly Bean brought some of the fake royalty statements to court, right? But there was like missing pages too?
Nah, they weren't. Well, you know what? Yeah. He did bring some of the fake royalty statements to court. Absolutely. Yeah.
So then you guys ended up finding out that it was 2.3 million that was missing. But when you say missing, does that mean that the 2.3 was owed to Liza, or it was supposed to be more? What was it exactly?
Yeah, it was supposed to be more. Yeah, it was owed to Liza, and it was supposed to be more. Because once again, we didn't get all the pages. Jelly Bean would take out some pages that were real significant, royalty-wise. You know what I'm saying? So some of the pages were skipped from maybe 200 to 400. There might be 150 pages, 200 pages missing on this, in this year. Some pages missing in this year. So yeah, I mean, he was definitely playing games for sure.
And you attended like all the court dates pretty much?
One day I didn't go. One day, just one day. So if we went 10, 12 times, I missed one day.
So then for those court dates, was Joe going there and Jelly Bean going there, or was just the lawyers?
Joe only showed up to mediation.
Got you. Okay.
That's the last process. He only showed up to mediation.
So then the court transcripts, right? They basically say that Jelly Bean took his cut, gave the rest to Joe, and which was what Jelly's Jams was legally binded to do, right? That's what he had agreed upon to do.
Well, Jelly Bean bought it to the copyright. Jelly Bean was to get 25%.
Mm-hmm.
Then there was 75 to be split, 37.5, 37.
But it was Joe's job to split the other half to give to Liza. That was his job to do.
Absolutely. That's why they kicked him out. That's why they kicked him out, from owning any of the copyrights, because it was proven that he didn't give it.
Because when you read the court transcripts, right, it's like they kept going in circles. Jelly Bean's lawyer, like he kept on not wanting to say directly, but like the judge basically forced him to say. So like What
Yeah, he was
is
trying to
your,
spin it.
what are you binded to do? And then what is Joe binded to do?
Yeah, he was trying to spin it, but I mean that's a good lawyer. Trust me, I've actually used him for a case over the summer that we won because my lawyer was too tied up. Um, that's a good lawyer. So he's a good lawyer. He's a good lawyer. But yeah, no, it was proven that Joe didn't give anything. I mean, put it this way, you just look at it like this, just to make it real simple. Pun and Joe are partners, right? If Liza says I'm not getting my money, what's Joe supposed to say?
I'm getting my money at least, or
He's supposed to say I'm not getting mine either.
oh, right, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That plain and simple. They're partners. If she's saying that she's not getting her money, Joe's supposed to say I'm not getting my money either. That's it. Done. You know what I'm saying? Period. Over.
Yeah, because I saw in your Doggy Diamonds interview, you were saying that Joe was denying that. I mean, he was saying that he wasn't getting paid too.
At one point in court, he said he wasn't getting paid either. He had an option to join us to fight against Jelly Bean if that was true. And he never did.
Right. He said something like he was going to pursue his legal action when he went back to Florida, but he never did.
No. That never happened. Once again, you might have just confused the people thinking like Joe, in mediation, he admitted that he never gave no money. That's that, period. You know what I'm saying? If anybody thinks that there's a lie to that, then get him to provide the documents. You know what I'm saying? And he was also supposed to pay the bill. He made Jelly Bean pay the bill so he wouldn't look so bad. But I mean, he could always get the documents, you know what I'm saying, to show that he got, that he was supposed to pay the bill.
So the judge ultimately tells you guys to like settle it outside of court or like through mediation?
Yeah, settle it in mediation. I remember the lawyer basically saying, because honestly, I mean, the judge, it took a while for the judge to really understand the complexity of the case. All right, maybe a year or so. But that last court date in March 2016, he really started to realize what was going on. And he told the other party, y'all better fix this in mediation because coming back to court kind of sort of like it ain't going to be looking good for you because he kind of realized what was going on. So he's like, I give you a chance to fix this in mediation. You know what I'm saying? And they complied and fixed it in mediation.
What was Joe and Jelly Bean's aura during mediation? Like how were they like their energy, their body language looking?
I was outside the door of mediation. I was in the hallway because I'm not an owner of the copyright. So my lawyer and Liza were in there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think his man Rich was outside too. Rich player. I think he was outside. I don't think he was in the hallway. I think he was outside the building because when we came out, he was outside. But no, they just told me everything that happened when they came out the door.
So this is when Jelly Bean told Liza that he was scared of Joe.
Yeah, he sat next to Liza.
And Joe blamed Jelly Bean basically for the situation.
No, I mean he admitted it, but then he had to spin the narrative in order for Jelly Bean to pay the bill. You know what I'm saying? I mean, publicly. But I mean, kind of according to Joe, I've also heard him say that there was no court case ever.
All right. Well, so does Jelly Bean still own any of the publishing?
Yeah, because he owns 25% of the copyright for like another couple of years. So Liza got 75, Joe's portion. And Jelly Bean, like I said, Jelly Bean wasn't deemed guilty because Joe got blamed for everything for non-payment.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So then the agreement was, I'm going to give up all the rights to Pun, and this is how we settle it? Or what is the agreement exactly?
I just read it the other day, too. Yeah, he had to sign off. He had to sign off on the transfer of rights to the Pun estate. He had to sign off on his portion to transfer the rights to the Pun estate. And I think there was an option. It was either like get more money and keep all parties involved, or get a little less money and get Joe out the way for what he did.
So then he took that option
and get Joe's portion. So yeah, they took that option.
In addition to that, they also had to pay monetarily because you said that Jelly Bean paid money.
Yeah, money got transferred. Absolutely.
Can you say how much?
No, I can't say that. It's disclosed.
Okay, got you. No problem. All right, so you end up doing the interview on Real Life, and let me first say, pun is Puerto Rican, not Mexican. Okay,
Right.
that was crazy. And
Yeah, that went over my head. I heard that a lot of people were upset about that.
and Cuban Link is not a nobody. Okay, they tried to push that to be like,
Nah,
yo,
not at all. Not at all. Not at all. I mean, he loves the pun estate. He loves, you could tell he loved pun. He's real passionate about his past situations. I mean, he's been through squabbles and the whole nine over it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I guess some of that stuff is hard to let go.
right. And so you do the interview with Real Life, and it just blows up, even though it's not new information. You've been saying it since your interview with Doggy Diamonds, pretty much, right? Which shout out to Doggy Diamonds because
Shout out to the guy.
he's been doing TS content for the longest time, like way back in the day when Liza was, still in that bad situation, man. So shout out to him. But you do the interview with Real Life, it blows up, and on a post, somebody put together a reel, and Joe comments on it saying it's a lie. He doesn't know who you are. He wishes people, didn't get their facts from a nobody or something like that along those lines, right? What is your reaction when you see that comment?
I started laughing. I mean, honestly, over that Joe thing, my client base probably went up triple
Wow.
within the last 3 weeks. No jokes. Probably, I probably get 30 to 40 DMs a day.
Does it trip you out that to this day, this is so old, right? You guys settled it in 2016, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking 9 years ago, and people still don't know that this is what happened.
People know what happened. They just don't want to admit, that their superhero got flaws, chinks in the armor. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I just think that, if Joe would have just admitted it years ago and be like, oh, I hated that bitch, this and that, blah, 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 we would have all been past it.
You really think that they would have let that up though, knowing that like this is your brother, that he died, he left his family, and
I mean, the way he talks, he could have justified it somehow, probably. You know what I'm saying? I think he was probably better. I don't know. I don't know if he was better off doing that. You're right, but I don't know how long you could keep on going lying. No one believes him. I mean, I got some of his own friends calling me up, telling me like, "Oh, that's Joe, though." You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? So
that's Joe though. Wow.
Yeah.
Do you think it's a situation where it's kind of like we know he's a piece of shit, but we got to fuck with him anyways because of the industry and the politics, basically?
I mean, it kind of makes me embarrassed to even be an associate to the industry, to how goofy the game can go with insecurity and just relationships. You know what I'm saying? And people want a union and stuff like that. There'll never be a union if you can't address your fellow man with their mistakes and flaws. There'll never be a union that works if you can't point out, the flaws of your fellow man when they do little things like this. Because I know a lot of situations like this. You know what I'm saying? Then there'll never be a union that's successful. You know what I'm saying? Then you're wasting your time. If you can't point it out and address somebody over their lies and issues and stuff like that, there'll just never be a union that you'd want to be with. You know what I'm saying? It would just be a gang of goofy niggas. You know what I'm saying? Honestly, you got to be able to address this shit. You know what I'm saying? Not even saying this thing in particular. I'm just saying you gotta argue behind closed doors, whether you're fighting, doing whatever. You know what I'm saying? Y'all gotta. It's got to be tough love sometimes, to move forward to make shit better. You know what I'm saying? Or else it's just going to perpetuate everything that's going on. Stealing from each other, lies, insecurities, just all sorts of shit. You know what I'm saying? All that shit's just going to perpetuate.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? This has been going on. Obviously, no one's trying to fix it. You know what I'm saying? This type of shit's been going on for decades and decades and decades. You know what I'm saying? I think whoever is the beholder or the high controllers of the music industry, they like it just the way it is.
When you say that people already knew about this, you're talking about people in the industry? Because it seems like a lot of people from the public standpoint didn't realize that this had happened. Because when you look at these comments, people are like, tell me it isn't true, Joe. I can't believe this. You know what I mean?
Well, no, I don't think anybody believed her when he was going on radio and saying that he gave her $1 million and stuff like that. We had to sway, we had to sway the people, with facts. You know what I'm saying? But I think after 9 years or so, I think enough people know. You know what I'm saying? They just, like I said, there's a lot of emotion involved. You know what I'm saying, with friends and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? It's just not to be addressed. Maybe they're addressing them behind closed doors. You know what I'm saying? Maybe Rock Nation is saying, something reprimanding him behind closed doors. I have no idea. You know what I mean? But at the same time, they do manage the guy, so I mean, like they should have a little talk with him about, being accurate. You know what I'm saying? Or don't even address it at all. You know what I'm saying?
Because I feel like all the major hip hop outlets wrote about it in 2016 when you guys won. You know what I'm saying? So then it's kind of crazy to me to think that like people don't know about this still.
Like I said, man, I think some people are just playing dumb. I think, I think a lot of people know, especially now. You know what I'm saying? It's just how you handle it. You know what I'm saying? Some people like being lied to.
Right.
I know plenty of people like that.
I think the problem kind of goes
I'm
in
just
with
not one
like,
of them. I'm just not one of them. If you're just, 10, 20 years ago, I would entertain the bullshit. You know what I'm saying? But if you like being lied to and just like to be in a circle of motherfuckers just lying to each other, making up your own fantasies and shit like that, it's not efficient. It's just not efficient to me. You know what I'm saying? I got to keep it moving. You know what I'm saying?
right.
Yeah. So,
One thing I noticed is kind of like when people idolize somebody, like a celebrity, because they feel that they're good at doing something, they're talented. It's almost like they view them in a way where you're incapable of making mistakes, incapable of doing fucked up shit to people. And it's just not true because at the end of the day, we're all human, right? We're all capable of doing something bad.
sure. I've done plenty of bad things back in the day, probably 20 years or more. But, everybody, ain't proud of everything that they did.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, like, but I mean, damn, you got to grow up at one point.
Yeah, because it's wild to me how people still defend him all the time, like in the comments, and like the evidence is there. Like you can't dispute the court transcripts. You know what I'm saying? Like it's so crazy to me that people like will overlook whatever evidence is put out there, and they'll be like, somehow they'll twist it and be like, oh, that person's lying. You know?
Sometimes I think it's him or one of his people in the comments doing that. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Or bots, maybe.
I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I mean, but like I said, it's not as consistent as it used to be.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what
Especially
I'm
after
saying?
this FBA thing too.
It's not as consistent
Yeah.
as it used to be. You know what I'm saying? Even like before court, you know what I'm saying? During court, maybe a little after court, people didn't know. But, if you get 100 people in the comments saying something, now it's only like 6, 7 people saying
Yeah.
something. It's a very low percentage, just under 10% or something. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, the majority knows.
So what is the situation with Miss Jones claiming that Pun put her in his publishing?
I don't know why she said that, man. I mean, I had her lined up to get sued and all sorts of shit, and a few other people. I just it was kind of frustrating. It actually made me go back into the paperwork and look at all the copyrights and publishing. It made me look to see if her name was on anything. You know what I'm saying? Like I was like, wait a minute, like what is she on? But I don't know why she said that. You know what I'm saying? But she should be embarrassed on why she said that. You know what I'm
Does it
saying?
seem
Like,
more like a clout move to like kind of like spin this narrative of like I was in love with him?
hey
Or
man, I mean, like I said, Nori's a nice guy. Always treated me nice. You know what I'm saying? And when she said that, he might not have known. He might have thought it was true. You know what I'm saying? Like, he might be like, oh shit. Like, he might have thought it was true at the time. But, later on, he knows now that's not true. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know why she did that, man. It was real puzzling. But I had them all lined up.
but you didn't want to pursue it because you actually like Nori. Basically, you would have had to involve him somehow.
Yeah, man. Like I said, he always treated me well. Never had a problem with him. You know what I'm saying? Like, I hung out with him a couple of times in Miami and stuff like that. Like I said, always treated me nice, good. I mean, I hung out with him a couple of times in New York, go to the bar, talk some shit. His man's cool. Randy Actor, never had a problem with Randy. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was just, I mean, it was kind of up to me. Like, if I said, because Liza and them, and the lawyer popped up, like, hey, like this, all this, I was just like, and they were kind of mad at me over it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was just like, yeah, I just softened the blow. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just didn't want to be involved. I thought, like I said, I thought Nori was cool. I didn't want to damage anything that he had going on in life. I mean, like I said, I didn't. He probably didn't even know what she was saying, and he might have thought that she was lying and shit like that. Or I mean, he might have thought that she was telling the truth. I just didn't want to. My man Frenchie's real cool with him, and it's like. I'm not supposed to pick sides and things like that. You know what I'm saying? And I actually, I guess I'm guilty for choosing sides. I guess I don't know. I just didn't want to, And at the same time, what it was is that we were talking to Joe about trying to do this movie thing, and just doing that.
Yeah. Before we get into that, but because I know like Cuban never saw that clip of Miss Jones before, and I showed it to him during an interview. And he got real emotional about thinking about the kids being in the shelter and Liza and everything. And Nori was kind of just there laughing and egging it on when Miss Jones is telling this story about how Pun was like into her and everything and put her into this publishing. And it's like, it's a bad situation. Man, roll a clip.
My fucking brother's love was just a regular game. It was never what he wanted from me. That bothers me because that's the form of using somebody. And then you got the nerve. At least you said the truth. But you're thinking that you're going to exonerate you from how really deep it was when it was inside that, I was kids in Whitefield. You have no respect for that. And you're a mother. And, that's what I'm saying. It's like, what fucking kind of respect or love you have for Bud? Because he must have told you how much he loved his kids. But you saying that his property checks are going to your kids, and they wasn't getting that. And then worse, Joe was the media. That's when the time that Liza was fighting with Joe the gay. Joe knows this if that's true. So, you know what I'm saying? That's how savage the people that are around us and we show love to her.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know what Nori was thinking at that time. You know what I'm saying? He might have believed everything she said. You know what I'm saying? And Nori laughs at a lot of shit. You know what I mean? Like they're sitting there drinking and smoking and shit like that.
Right.
A lot of shit is funny. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, I really don't blame him at all. I blame Miss Jones. You know what I'm saying? For coming up with that bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, there was other dealings that we were trying to do business-wise, and that just would have made the situation worse.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure that was 90% of the main reason why I didn't want to, push it that way.
But there was a situation with Dog in the Yard podcast too, right? Because he had went on there and he had said like, "Oh, I seen the contract, Pun's contract, and it looked like a regular contract or something."
Well, maybe in his eyes, but we decipher things differently. You know what I'm saying? And well, I mean, put it this way, reading the contract doesn't. Your contract can say whatever. It's what happens on the back end when
Right.
the money gets taken. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it could read regular. You can have a great lawyer and have a great contract. That doesn't mean you're getting paid properly when the money comes in. You know what I'm saying? So you could read a contract, be like, oh, it looked fair to me. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, when the money comes in is when the dirt happens. You know what I'm saying?
So like you said that you were cool with Nori, you guys hung out before and everything, but kind of after you won the lawsuit, that situation kind of changed things. Like you guys weren't as cool anymore? Or?
No, I hung out with him after the lawsuit. I hung out with him after the lawsuit.
Oh, because I saw in previous interviews you had said that it kind of made the situation a little weird.
Oh, probably now that it's more amplified than before.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Because
I'm
I
sure.
saw that you said that like you received like a phone call after like the Doggy
Well,
Diamonds
I
and
mean, well, after I did the Doggy Diamonds interview, I got a Miami number, and when I picked up, it hung up. I mean, that could have been Lori wanting to scream on me. That could have been Joe getting my number from somebody. I don't know who that was. You know what I'm saying? But I did get a Miami call, and I'm talking about probably 30, 30 seconds to a minute after I got off the podcast.
wow.
Yeah.
So have you had people stay away from you because of this situation? I know that you've said that like you've had Joe's friends like work with you, but they don't want to like publicly announce it.
I mean, it's not like they got a choice, but they know my skill set. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, it's not like we sit there and talk about them or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's just about getting the work done. And, I mean, I talked to you about it. I talked to some other podcasts about it, only because I wouldn't even have said nothing if he didn't go on Drink Champs and kind of rearrange the stories, saying that he gave it on his own free will. That type of stuff affects my business. You know what I'm saying? Because people will call me saying that I lied about. Yeah, I ain't got nothing to lie about, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, I ain't got nothing to lie about. So, yeah. So I mean, that's the situation at hand. I mean, I gotta protect my business. You know what I'm saying? And yeah. I mean, there was no lies involved. I mean, like I said, he said whatever he said on Drink Champs was highly inaccurate. I mean, I don't even like repeating what I'm saying now, but like I said, I gotta protect the business. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, it is what it is. I wish him well at the end of the day. He's still a legend regardless. You know what I'm saying? I mean, got a great ear for sound and music and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? To be his age, to still know how to make good records and shit like that. I mean, he's kind of one of the chosen few to be able to do that. Honestly.
So one of the things that Joe claimed in the past was that in the lawsuit, you guys put that he threatened Chris Rivers at a studio. Man, roll the clip.
5 minutes I catch the kid. I'll tell him nothing but the truth. Your father loved you. He was a good man. He was whatever a real brother would say, right? So now, 2 weeks later, his wife was suing me, right? Remember, she was suing me. By the way, she never got $1 from me. Like, I never stole from her. I never did. I don't want to go down that road, right? But when I go to the court 2 weeks later, it says, hello, people who really want to be in the Bonchinche and want to know something. It says that I bumped into his son and I threatened him in federal court of a lawsuit. Her lawyer says, yo, he saw his son, he threatened him, I never told this kid nothing but that we love him, that if it would have been any other way, he would have called me uncle, we would have been there, unfortunately. I showed him nothing but love. Like, I did the most loving thing you could do in the world, and in court, 2 weeks later, it said that I threatened him. So now, guys, I can't go in that direction you guys want, because the one time I did talk, it turned into a movie.
No, that was a show business studio, and I wasn't there, so I really can't say. But I remember the discussion, at least what was told to me. But I think Joe was more like, you wasn't there, you was too young, just things like that.
But it wasn't in the paperwork that you guys put that he threatened Chris.
I don't recall.
Okay.
I don't recall anything like that in the court, in the paperwork. I don't recall. Mm-mm. And you got to realize another thing, just to mention court again. Never once in court did he use the narrative that he gave her $1 million.
Wow.
That. Otherwise, it would be case dismissed.
But I thought that for the court thing, he couldn't produce a receipt to show that he gave her any money.
Yeah, that too. That was a mediation, though.
Oh, got you. Okay. That's crazy.
Yeah. So, I mean, wouldn't you use, If I was fighting you in court, wouldn't you use that as a narrative
Mm-hmm.
that I gave her so and so dollars?
Yeah.
If that was half true, he would still own part of the copyright.
Because especially you're not going to make a withdrawal or a wire transfer or anything of that size of money and not have like some kind of receipt of it.
Gave it to her in cash.
That's what a lot of people try to claim in the
Once
comments.
again,
Well, he could have gave it to her in cash.
no. Yeah, I mean, people you got to deal with.
Right.
Yeah, I feel sorry for some of these people. Just, you know, it just is what it is. But, you know, like I said, you know, the proof was in the pudding in mediation. And like I said, if I gave somebody $1 million or even half that money, I would have used it as a narrative in court.
So what do you know about the meeting in the studio with Chris and Joe?
Just like I said, he just told him that he was too young and, you know, she spent all the money.
Because originally he asked Chris to meet, right? And it didn't happen, and they by chance ran into each other at the studio.
Which time? They were supposed to meet a couple of times. They were supposed to be a Loud Records reunion. I think that was the last time they were supposed to meet.
And Joe claimed that Chris had called and said, "My mom doesn't want me to do it." Something like that.
Nah, I had nothing to do with it. I think he wanted to talk to him man to man before he did it, and Joe didn't want to have a meeting with him.
Got you. Because I remember on Clubhouse, Liza was saying that like it wasn't up to her. Like she said that, you know, like I would never stand in the way.
I mean, and she's everything she said, you know, just like I told you, at least with the loud reunion thing.
Yeah.
Chris wanted to have a talk with him, probably just to move forward. You know what I'm saying? And Joe didn't want to meet up with him. Crazy game.
What did you think about the video of the live that Joe did with Tony, where he said like, after, you know, she never got $1 out of me?
Well, he's gonna say that because Jelly Bean paid it.
Right, but like when you see him push this narrative constantly, like how does that make you feel knowing the amount of work that you guys put in to be able to?
Like I said, I feel like what I do is it's kind of like a little bit of artwork to it. You know what I'm saying? Shit ain't easy. You know what I mean? I fight some of these guys. Some of these guys is hard to fight with, man. I mean, I some of these publishers, man, is it's a rough game, man. It's not easy to win these things. It's not easy. It's not easy. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, when you win and successful over some of these guys, you know, it's like, hey, you know, it's like, you know, I achieved something. And just for somebody to just destroy your art like that, just by saying, just because you got a loud voice, like that's not true. You know, it kind of disappoints me. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I could lose money, I could lose credibility. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, and all
Because
that.
it's kind of like what you said. Like he has the access to these larger platforms, and he's more famous. So a lot of times people will automatically believe him because he has that, you know, at his disposal, right? Over the person like Liza can't call up Hot 97.
Yeah, well, you know, yeah. What disappoints me is that she never got a chance to say her piece. The same people at platforms, and
Right.
you know, that's true journalism. You know, both sides is true journalism. One side is not true journalism. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, these guys aren't really journalists.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They're just conversationalists. I mean, honestly, I mean, that's the truth. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, I mean, she just, you know, nobody, you know, I was thinking, you know, that, like I said, this union shit or whatever. I just think that, you know, hip hop, all these people and participants in hip hop kind of owed her an apology, especially the people that was cool with Pun and stuff like that was siding with Joe, and at least with the narrative and stuff like that. And, you know, they should have donated some money to like the Big Pun Foundation, or, you know, something they should have did, and just instead of just wiping their hands clean of her. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, there'll never be a successful union without pointing out your fellow man. It just, the bullshit will just keep on perpetuating. You know
You
what
got
I'm
to
saying?
be able to hold each other accountable.
Gotta hold each other accountable.
Right.
And in the music industry, the word accountability is probably an oxymoron.
Yeah, that's a fact. So there was a rumor that Loud Records had a life insurance policy on Pun. Is that true?
Yeah.
How much was it for? Do you know?
I can't remember. Maybe $1 million.
Is this customary for record labels to do that?
Shit, man. Check this out. I just read a producer agreement the other day. Should I say the label? I just read a Bad Boy producer agreement, and there was life insurance inside the producer agreement.
Wow.
Yeah. Like the guys don't even come out the house. you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Had life insurance policy in the agreement.
That's crazy. So how did you guys end up finding out about that?
About what?
Pun had a life insurance policy put through.
Well, no, Liza told me. Liza went to the doctor with him. You know what I'm saying? When he was instructed to go to the doctor for his physical, whatever.
Oh, wow. Okay. And was this like done after he got really big, or this was like before capital punishment around that time?
Yeah, no, he was already big and everything. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
That's crazy. So it's,
and with that, they could. I don't know if that's even been addressed, but with that, they could recoup all losses if you unrecoup too.
So them getting that life insurance policy, Liza and the family was not listed as a beneficiary. This is just a record company being listed as the beneficiary.
Yeah. God.
That's crazy, man. So you were the one that linked Whack 100 and Liza together to do the Big Pun series, right?
Yeah, you can say that.
yo, I saw you pause for a second. You're like, I don't want to take credit for that one.
Well, I'm not even saying that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I talked to Whack the other day. I mean, I ain't got no problems with Whack.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Actually, he was trying to get me with Tory Lanez because while he's in jail, cats are stealing his money.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I put that together. Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
But fans are asking what happened because like all the talk was super crazy and then it just died down. We never heard anything else about it.
I don't know. I think Wack tried his hardest to try to get it out there. I think the company he was dealing with, I don't know. I really don't know. I remember he was dealing with a company and then he had some other options with maybe another company or something like that. I think maybe that guy might have left or something. I really, once I put them two together, I kind of fell back. And that's kind of what I do with business a lot. I just put people together and it's not my business anymore until it's time to be my business.
Got
you know what I'm saying?
You know, one thing I will commend Whack on in that situation was even though he's close with Joe, the game is close with Joe and everything, he still held him accountable and said that paperwork is not going to lie. And the situation, you're not going to just lose all the rights to an artist for no reason. Like he said that on Clubhouse and
I think I was on the Clubhouse when he did it. He got me right in the mix and they told me to come on and, he got me right in the middle of the shit. I didn't even know it was coming.
Right.
He's like, yeah, me and Guru, we're not scared of nobody, this and that, blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh boy, this
guy. No, but for real though, that was crazy because like, he was like fearless in that situation of being like, we holding him accountable for what he did, basically.
Yeah, I mean, Whack went hard, man. Whack went hard on the situation. Like I said, I got no problems with Wackies, Like I said, he tried to help me out with the Tory Lanez situation now. He's a cowboy, man. Honestly, he's a cowboy. He's on his own island with the way he thinks. I mean, a good friend of mine, Fred Frenchie, he's on tour with the game right now. They're doing like an international tour. They called me on Sunday or Saturday or something from wherever they were from.
Yeah, shout out to EP. He's on that tour too with them.
Oh, I spoke to EP that day too.
Yeah. I just did an interview with him not too long ago. That's airing
Really?
right now. Yeah.
What? Okay, yeah. I just texted EP yesterday. I spoke to EP the other day. Yeah, he got robbed by Sugar. He got robbed by Sugar Hill.
He's good peoples, man. He's good peoples.
But but make a long story short, man, Frenchie told me a wild story about Whack. They were out in Russia, and with the game, Frenchie, Whack, whoever else was with them out in Russia, and these Russians were in Game's ear. You know, the music's loud in the club. They were in Game's ear. But Whack thinks that there's beef and shit. And mind you, it's just like 3 or 4 of them in Russia. Whack came from out of nowhere, just hit the guy in the head, bang, one of the Russian guys in the head. And like they got into some shit with these Russians, and Whack was like, you know, Whack was in the club like on Pyru, like, you know, my man Frenchie's like, yo, bro, that Pyru thing ain't gonna work right now. We're pretty much dead right now, like, you know, like the Russian guys are like forming up on him and shit like that, you know what I'm saying? But they mediated the situation, got out of it, and you know, realized it was a mistake and stuff like that, and everything was good going forward. But Whack's a wild boy. Whack is a cowboy, you know what I'm saying? He does his own thinking. And he's smart. He's
a strategist. He's a strategist.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
He's smarter than his competition, honestly. You know what I'm saying? You could see he's no dummy. He's smart. He's quick-witted. He's smart. The opponents that go against him and stuff like that and try to call him out and all this stuff, they can't compete with him.
But you know what's crazy? I saw an interview with him
A lot of them can't.
from like overseas and stuff, right? And the way that he was talking, I could tell that he was smart because he was talking not like on the gangster shit, but it was more of like on some real life kind of like, you know, like I never heard him talk like that before. And it's like he really does know what he's doing.
Yeah, no, he's a smart guy, man. I mean, me and him chopped it up a couple of times. He knows he's more experienced than most. You know, it's kind of unfortunate, you know, how some of his relationships might have severed with some of these people and stuff like that. But no, yeah, he's smarter than his competition, bro. He's definitely no dummy, you know.
So after the lawsuit, Liza wanted to do a Big Pun movie or series or something and include Joe. Like she was like willing to be like, whatever happened. Let's work together now. Let's get to, you know, make this work. And he said he was only willing to do it if she would come out and announce, hey, he never stole from me. I was wrong or something like that. And her reaction was like, why would I do that when you actually did steal from me? And it would make me look crazy.
I mean, it would have made her look crazy. Her DMs would have went up again, bitch, this and that, blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying? That would have just been like, it just would have brought back all the problems that she had when they were calling her out, you know, before she won the court case and what have you. You know what I'm saying? Like, why go through all that type shit? You know what I'm saying?
What was your reaction when you heard that that's what he asked for?
Oh, I thought he was crazy. You know, I mean, what else you gonna think? I mean, I thought he was crazy. I was like, wow, like, okay, I guess there's gonna be no flick, and she ain't sweating it about there being a movie or not. Like, I mean, she pretty much already got the victory that she needed. You know what I'm saying? Right. There being a movie would have been icing on the cake, but I mean, she don't need no movie to, you know, live how she's living and everything. I mean, you know, she's good.
Yeah, she looks like she's real happy, living her best life, man.
Yeah, I spoke to her maybe yesterday or so. So we still stay in touch, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, no, we still stay in touch, you know, we check up on each other, stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, she's good.
The family looks like they're doing well too.
Yeah, the kids are good. I think everybody's good, you know what I'm saying? I mean, you know, they're just moving forward with it. And seems like I speak more than they do about it just due to the fact that, you know, he's affecting my business when he makes up these stories and things like that. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So Wack also wanted you to help the game with his second album, Doctor's Advocate, basically because of something with Interscope.
How'd you know that?
Because I watched all the interviews, bro. Like I do immense research on this. Okay.
Yeah, I forgot okay. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So what ended up happening with that? Because that was when he moved from Interscope to Geffen, right?
Mm-hmm. You got it. I forgot all about it. I think he forgot about it too. We didn't pursue it.
Oh, you didn't pursue it?
Nah.
Was there a reason why?
Nah, I just forgot. I mean, there's so many things that come across my table that sometimes, we got to put it on paper or, and it didn't happen. It just, the business just didn't get solidified.
Because that situation kind of looked like a headache in itself because of the G Unit factor and all this stuff, right? I mean, that was for the first album. I don't know if 50 had him
I don't
signed
know
still.
I don't know if it was going to be a G Unit issue. It might have been a Universal Geffen issue. I don't know. I mean, I think 50 would have had a percentage override. He was going to get his money regardless.
Right.
You know what? I would have had to get the paperwork and all that type of stuff to really tell you what the situation was. You know what I'm saying? But I forgot about that shit. That was a while ago. Wow.
So at one point, I hit you up to take a look at Triple Sace Publishing, right, and see what happened with what was going on with that.
Yeah.
Did he end up getting his money?
I mean, I talked to him the other day. I'm looking to his artist royalties. He already had a publisher that was working with him and stuff like that. From what I see, the only thing I could probably help him with is to see how his artist royalty account looks.
Got you. Okay. Because I saw him post a picture like a while back of like a mailing that said ASCAP, and then he started thanking all these people, saying like, "Oh, thank you for helping me with this." So I thought he already got paid.
I mean, he might have got something from ASCAP without me knowing. I mean, that part wasn't my business. It was just basically, like I said, like I told him the other day, we're going to look into his artist royalty account, and see if it's recouped or not. Something I'll probably make an email next week about it or something like that, and see what they come back and say.
So then you hit me up about linking you with J Hood at one point, because there was money out there that he didn't collect. What ended up happening with that? Did you end up helping him get that money?
Yeah, I think he got it straight. You know what I'm saying? I was just kind of like refereeing certain situations to make sure, everything his business was going good forward. I think he's well aware of where to collect and where not to collect. I wasn't really asking for any money or anything like that from what I recall. I was just letting him know, like, okay, because he was talking on the internet about a couple of things, and I just wanted to make sure that he was accurate with certain things and possible accusations. So I kind of like gave him some emails and called him and let him know, where his money is laying.
Got you. Is that something that you do, like randomly check? Like if you see like an artist talking, you check like their paperwork like randomly, or see like, if their publishing is right?
Yeah, I mean, it's my form of playing games, I guess. You know what I'm saying? I don't play Madden and any of that type of stuff, or I'm not playing.
This is where you get your excitement from?
Yeah, I don't play spades or anything like that. But yeah, this is my game of exhilaration, just looking at accounts and trying to see where the money's getting redirected. And, sometimes I'll talk to a person a year later and be like, oh, I already know what's the matter with your stuff. You know what I'm saying? So, and it's repetition. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's like a ball player being in the gym, putting up 500, 700 shots a day. You know what I'm saying? I do that. You know what I'm saying?
So you're trying to make sure that you continue to stay sharp.
Yeah, I do that. You know what I'm saying? And see and study different angles. You know what I'm saying? I mean, shit. You know what I mean? That's different ways to sue, different ways to get money out of a publisher. I mean, and you gotta stay sharp because everybody's trying to win, bro. I'm telling you, like, there's some sharp ass publishers out there, bro. You don't want to battle with these guys, man. You know what I'm saying? It's lions, tigers, and bears, bro. You don't want to deal with some of these guys, bro. You can know what you know, think you know what you know. These guys will eat you up. You know what I'm saying?
So like when you're able to find that there was a discrepancy, do you like celebrate like, I got this motherfucker? Like, are you like really that happy?
Yeah. 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 Like I said, it's a form of exhilaration. Absolutely. Right. Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
I can totally see you doing
Yeah. I've ran around the house a few times. I mean, I got stuff on stash from 3-4 years ago that I'm just still waiting to break out. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
You know, I mean, you got to keep the ammunition too. You know what I'm saying? So some things you can't bring out so fast. You know what I'm saying? You know, I got to hold it over here till you start lying and shit. Then I bring it out. You know what I'm saying? So it's like there's things I could have got somebody probably millions of dollars for. You know what I'm saying? And everybody can use the money, but I
Wow.
gotta let it. But I gotta let it sit. I gotta let it marinate for when the time is right.
So another time I had reached out to you about TA the Legend to see if there was anything you could do regarding his claims that he ghost wrote for Joe. And you said that
Yeah,
if you don't
about that.
claim it within 3 years of songwriting, you basically can't do anything, right?
I mean, it seemed like he was more of a work for hire. Um, I mean, you got 3 years to fight your copyright.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, he wasn't getting no writer credit for the work. You know what I'm saying? He was just getting paid cash or whatever. And you know, I've seen that before. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm sure, you know, he's a great writer. Then, you know, he can do something else great again under his writer name. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because you looked it up, right? And you saw like the songs that he was even featured on. Joe didn't give him any publishing or credit on it.
I mean, he's a work for hire. That happens. Is very typical in the business.
What does that mean exactly? So if you're a work for hire, you're not going to be listed as a songwriter or anything like that?
Well, that's the way Joe constructed it. That he didn't get no credit. You know what I'm saying? I mean, why? You know, if he's a ghostwriter and Joe doesn't want anybody to know that he's being credited for writing, why would he put him up there?
That's crazy. What do you make of the situation that Joe finds himself in right now for All the Way Up? You've seen that case, right?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, he's being sued for that case, for that song. There was somebody that was originally Fly Havana is the person that originally had that beat and came up with the concept for that song and gave it to Joe, and he never got credit for it. They put the song out and everything. They met up at a. It's crazy right now. The judge just accepted
No,
that it.
that stuff be rough. If he didn't register that in his works before he gave it to Joe under like a SR form, sound recording form in the Library of Congress, then and stick that flag in the ground before his accusations, he's gonna have a rough time.
Yeah, it's kind of like weird because they like allegedly met up like at a restaurant or something like that, and Joe was trying to give him cash and have him sign this form, and then I don't know, they can't find a copy of the form now, but the judge is like agreeing to allow them to keep looking and pursuing it.
All right. Well, I mean, yeah, I really don't know what's going on with the case like that, but that's the first time I heard about it. You know, I be so knee deep in work, like I don't really be hearing everything and stuff.
Right.
Mhm.
Tell me about the situation. Tell me about the situation with Benzino. What happened with Benzino's
Situation.
publishing?
Which one?
I think the Source Greatest Hits, right? Oh no, the Hip Hop Hits.
Oh yeah. The hip hop hits. The hip hop hits. I mean, with that, he came out with 13, 14 projects on
Universal.
under the Universal flagship, but they only put like 3, 4, 5 projects on his royalty statement. So you know, basically, I was like, where are the other projects? You know what I'm saying? And I don't know, man. Like, I think after that Eminem situation he had with Eminem, I just really think that they just took his paperwork and just threw it up in the air and said, "Fuck you." You know what I'm saying? I mean, you gotta realize Eminem paid at that point he was paying most of the bills in the building. He was keeping the lights on over at Universal. You know what I'm saying? And they picked favorites. You know, Benzino got the
Right.
case dismissed. I think Iveen and them had to pay his lawyer fees, and they caught an attitude and got emotional over it and threw the paperwork up in there. You know what I'm saying?
So what were you able to discover from that? Like, did he get his money?
Well, I mean, one time I was supposed to get him like 80 something thousand, and then they kind of ran off on that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's still a situation that I'm pursuing. You know
Oh,
what I'm
okay.
saying? And trying to work on. I just spoke to some people yesterday about it. So I mean, like, man, this whole game is catch me if you can. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, it's been made this way for years. You know what I'm saying? And ain't nobody trying to fix it. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? But I'm hoping that we could prevail on that end. Yeah, because it's shady business. You know what I'm saying? And I think more than him having a cross collateralized contract where they take from one project from another, that one that's unrecouped and the other one isn't, and they'll take from a recouped project to pay back the part on the project that's unrecouped. And then they put him in the negative, saying that he might owe like $1.2 million or something like that. But then if you put in the other projects in there, the other 8 projects in there, then all of a sudden he'd be in the black because everything would be paid. You know what I'm saying? And they're just making it the hard way for him to get his money. And I gotta be, bigger, stronger, smarter to supersede that situation for him.
Right. That situation you're talking about, though, makes sense because Benzino said that when he wanted to put out those racist Eminem tapes, that he had a meeting with Jimmy Iovine, and Jimmy Iovine was like, I'll give you a deal for the source and a deal for you. It'd be a couple $1 million or something like that if you don't put it out.
He got a 50-50 joint venture.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But then, like,
I just read the paperwork 2 nights ago.
They, obviously because he ended up putting it out, like they fucked him over.
Oh, that paperwork. I'm talking about the original deal. Okay, well, okay. I do know what you're saying about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard Benzino say that before.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Absolutely.
Shout out to Benzino, man. You got a relationship with him?
Yeah, I've known him for some years. Absolutely. I've, helped him out, chopped up some money with him before and stuff like that. Absolutely.
Cool. Well, rest in peace to Irv Gotti. That's a big loss for hip hop, whether people like him or not. That man was a musical genius, very talented. You helped him and Ja Rule with a situation, right?
Say something else.
Well, you can talk about that too.
Yeah. Well. I mean, we were supposed to have we put up a lawsuit against Rich Kid Music for them stealing maybe $250,000, or I think I found $250,000 at the end or something like that. I think they initially stole like $60,000 from the Painter's Love album. Then I found some more money. And then unfortunately the guy passed away during the court case.
Like 2014 or something like that?
Excuse me?
Like 2014 or something he died, right?
Yes, sir. And then they just stopped pursuing it. Like, we would have to refile, do all this and that. They already got money. I guess $250,000 wasn't a lot to them at that point. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's that. You know what I'm saying? But there was a point where, Irv wanted to come to town and with a few friends that I know still, and they wanted to do some damage.
Right. He called you at 1 a.m., right?
Yeah, 1:30 a.m. with a couple of people he happened to be with that I know. And, they wanted to bang heads together, pause.
I thought Sugar Hill Records was involved in this one.
They were.
Oh, they were.
They were.
It seems like.
Well, when I say Sugar Hill Records, that's just to notify people like, oh, that's who. It wasn't particular Sugar Hill Records. It was Rich Kid Music. It was one of the sons that I grew up around, that was running around jerking black people all day, and people don't see no problem with that. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of weird and hard to explain. I'm not trying to tell people not to talk to these guys ever and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying that you should recognize that these guys are kind of low character.
Right. What do you think about that, right? Because like the record industry was already shady practices before, you know what I mean? And then you have black executives now that learn those shady practices from white executives, right? And then they turn around and they do it to their own people when obviously like it shouldn't be about that. It should be better, right? Helping out your brother.
Yeah, but I mean, they're just passing on pain, bro. Most of the people I know got jerked themselves, and they're not trying to give you the recipe. You know what I'm saying? So they use the recipe on you. I mean, that's just plain and simple. You know what I'm saying? Now, I know a big exec, one of the biggest execs in the history of music. I ain't gonna say no names, but he called one of my clients up, and he owed my client a lot of money, 6 figures or so. And he said, "Hey, man, this is a black exec." And he called my client up. He
Steve
called me
Stout?
first. Like, what?
I said Steve Stout.
No. This guy's bigger than Steve Stout. This guy told one of my clients, "Hey, man, I'm just doing what the white guys taught me."
Hmm.
That's that.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So you also
Absolutely.
worked with the Locks or just Styles P to get his publishing back from Diddy?
I've worked with them. I mean, we were in collaboration, and it was a group effort to try to get their publishing back. I mean, we still got a few discrepancies that we got to fix.
But I thought like years ago, right, that like Diddy was on the radio and they had that back and forth, and he decided to give them back their publishing. What ended up happening?
What ended up happening?
Yeah, I thought he been gave them their stuff back.
Oh, wait, let me get the door.
Okay.
No, they got their rights back, and I think they might have got a check along also with it. And but I think you mentioned the 2007 thing or something, the radio thing.
Right, when he was on, when they were on the radio going at Diddy, right, and Diddy decided to give it back to them.
Not then. We got it back. Though they got it back 2022, 21, something like that.
Was that when he was
back
giving
then,
the rights back to everybody? Remember, like
Excuse me?
they were saying that Diddy was giving the rights back
that's
to
not
everybody.
true. I got half of Bad Boy signed to me now. Still trying to get their rights back. I got a gang of Bad Boy, not half, but I got a bunch of Bad Boy people now still signed to me, trying to get their rights back. I think he might have just gave his rights. I think maybe 3 people might have got out the situation.
Wow, because I remember him on the Breakfast Club saying that he gave it to everybody.
Mace the Locks, maybe Faith Evans.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's from off the top. I think that's it.
Yeah, I remember him on Breakfast Club saying he gave it back to everybody, but then you heard like people saying, oh, they wanted him to, he was making people sign NDAs and everything like that to get their publishing back.
Yeah, a lot of people were getting paperwork. I do recall a lot of people calling me from all over the U.S. that were Bad Boy, on the Bad Boy roster. I can't really know what the paperwork said, but there was definitely some terms and conditions in there.
Right, like I think they were saying, what's her name? Aubrey from Danity Kane. I think she said something along the lines of like, oh, you can never bash Diddy publicly then if you were to sign this document and get your publishing back, but it wasn't even that much money.
The money depended on how educated you were when it came to fighting against him and his lawyers. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we weren't getting peanuts per se. You know what I'm saying? The Locks only got one album on their label.
So from what you've seen with all this paperwork,
it just comes down to who's behind. It just comes down to who could fight better. You know what I'm saying? That's it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like I said, just because these guys are lawyers doesn't mean that they're royalty experts.
Right. So from what you've seen from these contracts with Diddy and stuff, because people always try to give him a bad name saying that like he really like robs the artists and everything. Are the contracts just like normal contracts that everybody gets in the industry, or are his specifically worse?
At that era in time, I think it was kind of typical.
It was typical.
Would I call it a bad contract? Nah, I wouldn't call it. Well, okay, maybe there's a discrepancy on the amount of the advance was what was received to buy into the copyright and stuff like that. But once again, I've seen way worse. I grew up around cats that way worse. You know what I'm saying? So it's like way worse. It wasn't. I wouldn't say it was a bad contract like that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Rough Riders' contract was similar, and I wouldn't say that was really a bad contract either. It was typical. Irv Gotti had a contract like that. That was kind of typical. Before that, Uptown Records. Bro, you got to understand, with these urban labels, maybe before Rough Riders and Bad Boy and Murder Inc. There was Cold Chillin'.
Right.
And other labels of that ilk that you had to sign. You had to sign contracts that were way worse. You know what I'm saying? You didn't have a publishing entity. All you did was get a royalty. Those contracts were worse, definitely, hands down. So it propelled it. It propelled. They could have did the same thing. Rough Riders, Bad Boy, and what have you. They could have did the same thing, and they didn't. You know what I'm saying? So like I said, if you look at those contracts from the late '80s, from like a Cold Chillin' and some of those competitive labels, Profile Records, for sure. Whoo, boy, that bro, Profile Records, man. That's one of the biggest gangsters ever. Like that's somebody you don't want to go court with. That's somebody you don't want to go court with. You don't want to go court with. You better be like Jordan if you think you're gonna go to court against that guy. You know, the publisher end of that company. What?
I said, are you helping anybody from making the band?
Absolutely.
Can you say who?
No.
No. All right, because it's just interesting, you know, like people like Sarah Stokes didn't want to originally sign her contract, you know what I'm saying? And she was saying like it was a bad contract, but then everybody in the group was like forcing her to sign it, like, you know, different things like that.
Yeah, I'm cool with her husband, Fashion.
Yeah.
I just spoke to him not that long ago. I mean, I'm cool with a couple people on that side. I can't really speak. You know, I like to become victorious first, win or lose or whatever,
Right,
before
I
I
got
come
you.
and talk about it and stuff like that. The whole thing is that you don't want to motivate somebody on the opposite side. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Yeah, like, you know, because I work off of motivation. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm sure so with the opposition. You know what I'm saying? So, but and I actually show respect to some of these guys. Like I said, the guy from Profile Records. I mean, bro, that guy's like Mr. T in Rocky 3, the first fight, bro.
Oh man.
You know what I'm saying, bro? I'm telling you, bro. I'm telling you, throw you up against the ring, he can bash you any way he wants, bro. You know what I'm saying? It just is what it is. You know what I'm saying? But you got to be, you got to be made for this shit. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
you got to really love this shit. And man, you got to. Some of these guys is real good, man. I see like George Clinton's going to court, trying to get his rights back. Woo, boy, he's going up against a problem. Bridgeport Music, they are a problem with a capital P. And I tell you right now, he got Benjamin Crump in the corner or something like that. Okay, whatever. I didn't know he was a music industry lawyer. I think he works more for sympathy and stuff like that. But man, if George Clinton loses that case, he's going to lose millions in lawyer fees. He's going to have to pay millions back. He's going to have to pay back millions in lawyer fees. Millions. I'm telling you that result. So they better be sharp. They better have it all. They better have it all right. They better have it all right. He's jeopardizing millions.
So this is a good segue because you do the work that you do because you strongly believe like you were chosen for this, right? Like it comes from a place of compassion and empathy because you've seen these companies steal so much money from these artists. You said that you once knew somebody that sold like 20 million that lives with their parents.
Yeah, 15 million maybe.
Yeah, 15,
maybe
20
I just
million
rounded off
around
high.
there.
Yeah, maybe more. It might be 20 million, something like that. But yeah, he sold a lot of records. Yeah, he's at home right now. But yeah, I mean, it's an ugly game, man. It's an ugly game. It's an ugly game. It's an ugly game, bro. You know what I'm saying?
But there's been situations where like you feel so bad for the person in the story that you don't even take a percentage. Like you just did all that work for them and you don't take anything.
I would never do that again, but I've done that in the past.
Right.
Where it was just like so sympathetic. I was just like, all right, let me just get my money back from what I invested.
Got you.
You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, bro, like there's a guilt there. Like, damn, like they robbed you. This person robbed you. Now, I'm gonna take some money from you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was like, and I had to be in a comfortable position to do that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because you got to eat too, obviously.
Yeah.
And you're talking about like you're working some of these things for like years. That's a lot of sweat equity right there.
Yeah, but like I said, I kind of like what I do. So, all of it is ring experience. You know what I'm saying? Because every opponent you go against, even if the situation's the same, they're gonna have a different narrative to how to get out of it, things like that. Um, different strength in lawyers. Some lawyers you could buzzsaw through. Some lawyers is like, wow, man, like, have your head spinning. So, it kind of it's based on their education too, and how well they could deceive you on the other side and intimidate you with the tactics that they have and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? I've seen people just give it up. You know what I'm saying? Just like, yo, man, like I don't want to do this no more. Like it's just too much. It's like it's fucking my health up mentally.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Yo, Goo, I'm not gonna lie. You kind of strike me as the type of person that like enjoy the paperwork, gymnastics and like acrobatics and stuff. Be like, I learned that flip from this case, and now I know how to do this.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, I got to absorb it all, so I can have a variety of skills, a variety of ways to look at certain situations. You know what I'm saying? I can't have something just new come to me and I don't understand it. You know what I'm saying? So I got to go through all the repetition. And like I said, even on the side when I'm not working, I'm working on my jumper.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm reading court cases, Southern District, Northern District, Florida cases, whatever, I'm reading cases. I'm reading how the lawyer drafted, how the opposition defended their copyright. You know what I'm saying? I got to look at it all. You know what I'm saying? And you know, it, I absorb all of that. You know what I'm saying?
How do
I
you
absorb
juggle
all
so many of them at one time though? It just seems so overwhelming.
I mean, it is overwhelming, especially now since I got more clients than ever and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? It is overwhelming.
But it seems like a good problem to have too.
Yeah. No, you know what I'm saying? I probably just gotta, hire a few more people around me and stuff like that to do some. I'll have them do the band-aids while I'm doing the surgery.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Because I want it all. You know what I'm saying? I want the grams, I want the ounces, I want the keys. I need it all. You know what I'm saying? That's how I look at it. I need it all. You know what I'm saying? So, hey man, you could, I'll work on moving the keys. Hey man, y'all move grams and ounces. It all adds up. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. So, I got a few people on my side that, work with me and stuff like that. I'm, about to put them into more responsible situations. I'm just kind of testing them right now to see if they could pass a few tests. You know what I'm saying?
Got you.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the situation with Angie Stone? Because she had to hit the road a lot for money and Tyler Perry had to pay for her funeral. What happened with her royalties?
I mean, she's not, number one, she's not whole. You know what I'm saying? She's not getting all her royalties from all places. And, that can mess you up right there. I mean, I know she did a few albums on J Records. I don't know if those albums recouped or not. You know what I'm saying? I'd have to see. If those albums didn't recoup, then that's one payee source that she's not getting money from. Then she got a publishing deal with Universal Publishing. I think she was bickering about that. I think that she felt that she wasn't getting all her money from Universal Publishing. So, I mean, she was either going to be in the process of auditing or doing something about that. And then there's some copyrights that Sugar Hill is claiming that she's not getting her money from. And some of those copyrights are heavily licensed, and she's not getting her money from that. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, if she was getting her money from that, you know what I'm saying, that would help her out. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, this is just the game. You know what I'm saying? It's a catch me if you can game. Everybody plays for keeps. I'm not saying Universal's playing for keeps or anything like that. I'd have to see the situation. But have I found Universal fumbling the ball and underpaying people on publishing? Absolutely.
It's crazy because before she died, you were on podcast saying you were looking for her.
Well, I had people reach out to me. I got a couple of people reached out to me not that long ago, trying to get me to look into certain situations and stuff like that. and let the family grieve, and then we'll get back to it. But yeah, the fact that Tyler Perry had to pay for the funeral, and it's kind of messed up. I mean, I'm sure the family could have paid for the funeral, but she needed a grand exit. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? For her being the legend that she was, you know what I'm saying? She needed a grand exit. You know what I'm saying? And that's what she deserved, 100%. You know what I'm saying? And I guess with the resources that she had at the time, they couldn't give her the grand exit. But that was great that Tyler Perry did it. You know what I'm saying? Like, shout out to that guy, man, for doing that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, he gave a nice little speech also and stuff like that. And hey, man, he could reach out to me if he wants me to help her out too. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, do I know more than what the lawyers are going to know? When they do their research, I can pretty much guarantee that I know more than they do, or more than what they're going to find. Like I said, I hold things. There's certain things I hold for the right time.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I got some stuff on hold that I can enhance the lawyer's situation with what he's trying to do, or trying to, fight for the royalties and copyrights and stuff like that.
It's interesting because it seems to be a common theme that a lot of these situations keep coming back to Sugar Hill. Like.
I mean, it's not just them. There's a lot of people, man. Like I told you, I've dealt with some monsters, bro, and they just their father was just part of the clique of monsters that just knew what they were doing. But there's other guys out there, you know what I'm saying, that are better than him. At least in the courtroom.
Right.
I would think. You know what I'm saying? I'd rather fight with, Mr. Robinson in court than some of these other guys, man, that are a problem. And I've won cases. I won a case back in August against one of the monsters. But I still got to salute him for how effective that guy is. You know what I'm saying? Like,
so you saluting people for being super devious, like they're so good at doing what they do.
Nah, it's an art. It's what they do is an art too.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And you're kind of amazed at how they do their dirt. You know what I'm saying? And it's intimidating just because I beat you the first time. And I'm the first guy to beat this guy, because this guy beat a super famous group and all sorts of shit. This guy's a monster. But it doesn't mean that I want to fight him again.
Right. You knew what it took before.
You know what I'm saying? Right, so that's the respect. So that's the respect I have for the situation. You know what I'm saying?
But they respect you too.
They don't even know me because I'm behind the scenes working with the lawyer.
Oh, got you. Okay. What did you do for DMX's estate? I know that you got a relationship with Dame Grease. Shout out to Dame, but like, what did you end up doing for DMX?
Yeah, I spoke to him. That's my guy. I helped Tashera with her divorce case. I made her switch lawyers because it wasn't going the right way. And I helped her out with her being whole with her catalog, making sure she got all her publishing and things like that. You know what I'm saying? And we're in process with things. Shout out to her. I thank her for the opportunity. I kind of met her around the same time as Liza Rios. I think I used to meet up with them together.
Wow.
At a hotel in Manhattan, maybe they're Marriott or something. I think there's been 1 or 2 times that I had them together doing dual meetings. Me, her, Tashera, my man Kevin Mitchell. I had them together a couple of times. Mm-hmm. And I also I think I helped Irv Gotti's wife too.
Deb?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Got you.
I didn't help. I think I put her with my lawyer, or I might have helped her out with some information or something like that. Back at one time, and I think Tashera might have took it from there because Tashera already had my lawyer and brought her over. But now they got good representation. They got good lawyer. My lawyer, I think, is 2014 or 2013 National Bar Association Entertainment Lawyer of the Year. She learned under a legendary lawyer named Paul Marshall, who was a gangster himself. And, I'm fortunate to be dealing with her. Not to say the prior lawyers were stupid or anything like that. It's just that, once again, ring experience.
Mm-hmm. But wasn't there a situation with DMX's estate where they were collecting on 3 albums, but it was supposed to be only 2 or something like that?
Yeah, they did a deal with Rich Kid Records, Rich Kid Music, that was supposed to collect internationally only for like 10-15% on the first 2 DMX albums, but they collected on 3, but they never paid on the first 2 albums either. They just ran off with all night.
Wow. That's another thing that artists kind of forget about, right? I see like people talk about where it's like you're getting your money, nationally, but people are collecting internationally and you're not getting that.
I mean, it's a rough game, man. You gotta, it's called music business. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people just know the first word and they ignore the second. Then when they turn 60, they want to call me up.
They turn 60?
Sure. I got people 70 something years old calling me.
Wow.
80.
Yeah, I saw that you said that you had to lend artists money during the holidays.
Yeah, that's happened before. No names mentioned. But yeah, it is what it is, man. It's a rough game, bro. It's all motivational. You know what I'm saying? It's more like, damn, man, like this happened. Like I wouldn't have did it if I didn't have sympathy for the situation. I know what they're going through.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I know how they got, wiped up and jerked and stuff like that, and I'll get it back for them. It's kind of motivational. Like, nah, don't worry about it. Like you ain't got to pay me back. I'm going to destroy this guy over here and get your money back anyway. You know what I'm saying?
Man, you're like a superhero.
I wouldn't say that. It's just, I'm just well studied. You know what I'm saying? And like, I still got more to learn. The publishing portion is one thing. The copyright portion is still like a whole lot to learn and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, I gotta, I constantly buy books. It just matters where you want to be in life. You know what I'm saying?
So all of this is self-study, pretty much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do they even have like school for this, like particular thing?
Well, I plan on giving out a class and course eventually.
Oh, master class! Look at you.
Yeah. I got some people. I got some corporate people I'm dealing with right now. They're trying to structure me to go on the road, do speaking engagements, and like a rapper, I'll be on tour.
Oh, you gonna have a TED Talk?
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully, I'll be getting 50 a show or something. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm gonna be running around. Speaking, talking about my history and some of my fights and plight in the business.
Wow. Are you gonna write a book?
I was told that too. I mean, I get offers for a lot of stuff. I've gotten offers to do documentary content. I probably got like 5-6 offers on that alone to do, stuff that we could put up to Netflix and,
a biopic.
Just, I get a lot of offers, but I just can't occupy all that time into stuff to which will take away from what I do.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, it sounds all good, and I appreciate people giving me the offers and shit like that. But right now, this is where I'm exhilarated. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, if I hire a couple more people and I don't have to do so much work. I mean, I was doing a documentary with Genius.com in 2019, based off the case that I won in August.
Wow.
Before we won the case, we were filming in with one of these lawyers and my clients. We filmed for maybe a couple of days in the Union Square area, and I didn't think the case was going to take this long, but it took that long because the opponent is good. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I've had chances, but I want to own my own content. You know what I'm saying? I don't want an artist deal where you give me so-and-so percent to split with these other guys and stuff like that. So, I'll pay and produce my own shit. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah, and then but I kind of leave that up to Fred Frenchie, Mike Tyson's manager. I kind of leave that stuff up to him. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like I'm the talent and he's the brains. You know what I'm saying? And I got a lot of love for that guy, so I wouldn't cross him for nothing. I get a lot of offers, and I just bring it to him. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, whenever he's ready and he thinks I'm ready, is when I'm ready to pursue it.
What ended up happening between Lil Wayne and Birdman regarding the whole money situation with them?
It seemed like they got it resolved because they're touring together and stuff like that. But back when I was consulting for Birdman and Birdman's company and stuff like that in 2015, there was a lady working for the company that was trying to undermine them to try to steal the company from under them. And was trying to get me to participate. Like she had some type of control of me, like I was going to do some dumb shit like that. You know what I'm saying? So I met up with Baby and Slim and let them know.
And what ended up happening to her? She got fired?
I don't know, but unfortunately she passed away maybe like 3 years ago or something like that.
Oh, wow.
So, I guess she's no longer an issue.
Yeah. But the situation was basically that Lil Wayne felt like he wasn't getting paid his money, right?
Yeah, I think it might have been a new advance for new compositions, a new album or something like that, or
I thought it was like 50 million or something like that.
It was
that he
50.
wanted.
Yeah, it was 50 million. But I think Baby got it. Baby had it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like I'm pretty sure they worked it out. I've been around Cash Money a couple times. They cool dudes. Slim's a nice. He cool mellow cat and shit. They worked it out. It was just that it was kind of frustrating to see how the business is, how people will try to undermine you. You know what I'm saying? And not respect your talents and your hard work. You know what I'm saying? Cash Money's been doing this. Baby and them been doing this for years, but even before you heard of them, before the Bling Bling record and stuff like that, they were already almost a decade in the game, working independently.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, he deserves all the accolades he should get. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't deserve, the undermining and stuff like that and people being in cahoots and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of times it only happens to us.
But do you think that like he deserves the criticism because there's been artists and like producers that have been with them that have complained they didn't get paid? There's been a lot.
I mean, I never heard those stories. I mean, that's the thing. Like, I got paid. you know what I'm saying? I know a couple other people that got paid. Personally, I never got a call so far from anybody saying, "No, Cash Money didn't pay me."
Oh, wow. Okay, so you've never had to work against them, basically.
Or I never had to tell Baby on the side, like, "Yo, I got this call." You know what I'm saying? Because I could call him. I got his number. I got Slim's number. I could call him and say, "Hey, this is the call I'm getting." Never got that.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about these artists selling their entire catalogs these days? Like for like big numbers and stuff. Do you think that that's a smart move?
It just matters what you're going to do with the money. You know what I'm saying? I mean, okay, you keep your copyright for your lifetime plus 70 years after your death. And like I told people before, if you're 40 years old now and you live till you're 80, that's 40 years. Then you get another 70 years on top of that. You get 110 years of royalties. So that annually you're getting 110 years of royalties. All right. When they try to buy it off you, depending if there's heavy licensing in it and stuff like that, you know what I'm saying? Without heavy licensing, they might offer you an 8-10 multiple or something like that. With heavy licensing, meaning that this is a high commodity, is being used in commercials and all this other stuff, they might give you a multiple into the 20s or something like that. But you're still undercutting yourself 90 years of future royalties. But then once again, who am I to say when they say, "Hey man, I'm gonna give you 50 million right now," and you're like, "Yo, I'm never gonna see 50 million in my lifetime," and I could buy a couple of buildings with this, and my family could be financially set for the rest of their lives.
Right. Or just be like, I don't ever have to work,
Yeah.
for right now, unless I want to do what I really want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I can't argue with that. But now if you sell it for a low multiple, it's like, damn, man, you know, and sometimes it just comes to disparity, you know, and I've seen companies dry you out purposely for that same publisher to offer you money to buy it off you.
Wow.
Where
Didn't
it goes,
Joe just sell his catalog recently? Or
I have no idea. No idea.
I was rumored that he did that, but yeah, I'm not sure. So, in regards to these companies, right? The artists not getting paid what they're supposed to. Do you feel like it's majority intentional or is it negligence?
I think it could be a mix of both. I've seen companies intentionally not pay these people. You know, I met somebody in 2019. He's like, "Oh, I'm not getting money. They told me there's no more money." And then next thing you know, me and my lawyer pop up, 400,000 pops up out of nowhere. You know what I'm saying? So I've seen it jump. You know, I've seen a different array of things. You know, and at the same time, you got to know how to read your statements and stuff like that, and stay on top of your business.
Yeah, because in like a lot of times people don't even want to read their statements; they just want to look at the check, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Goo, man. I just want to thank you for your time. Is there anything else you want to say to the people before we
No,
wrap
that's
it up?
man. Just hit me on Gongu Roach at Instagram if you want to reach out to me. Hit me in the DM. You know, let's see if I can help you.
Yeah, man.